Hello, adventurers. My name's Tyler.
And I'm Richard.
On today's episode, we're going to finish talking about Darrington Press's Daggerheart's character creation. Whew. Welcome to True Strike.
Howdy, folks, and welcome
Howdy.
back to the show. Today we're finishing character creation, like you said, because we decided that we were going to cover it all in one episode. We got all the way up to Heritage and realized that it took the entire episode just to go through all of those cards, talking about the subclasses, the classes, the background, the ancestry. There's a lot of stuff there.
Yeah, absolutely. What's funny to me is that we could build a character faster than discussing building a character.
Yes, 100%.
So I was like, yeah, we can knock this out in one episode. Not an issue at all. We'll hopefully get through it all today.
Yeah, no, it was so what did it in was the wanting to read every single of the class cards as well as the backgrounds and ancestries.
That's fair.
Because that is such a cool new thing. At least it was very exciting for me because I wanted to read every single one of the ancestries because ribbits. I mean, come on, they're so cool. Yeah, I wanted to be able to read everybody and see what their special abilities were and all the background abilities and stuff like that. So the wanting to read all those domain cards is what did us in there.
That's discussion podcast is what we got to go through.
Yeah.
So if you didn't tune in last week, go catch that for part 1 of this. We're really going to that stuff. Today, we're mostly going to be hitting on, I believe it's traits and evasion, which we briefly hit right there. Really hitting on thresholds and hope, starting weapons. We got your armor and then domains. Did I miss anything?
Well, I mean, I guess we should also go over some of the other stuff too. So we have your starting inventory as well, which we didn't really go over all that much. Right.
We're going to get through it all episode.
We're going to get through this. Yeah. So we're going to start where we left off and we'll go through there and we're going to make it through.
Okay. I believe you. Like I mentioned, traits and evasions, I think we really hit it right there, but I don't know if I mentioned how much I love this, that just out the jump, you don't have to roll dice to see what, bonuses you're adding to your trait values. You just get a -1, 2 zeros, 2 +1s, and a +2. You just distribute that, and that's how you build up your abilities.
Yeah, it makes it very, very straightforward.
Yep.
I like that a lot. Your starting evasion score, I don't know if we touched on this last time, but we'll go over it each.
That's with your class, right?
So it has to do with your class. So your class will have actually on your character creation sheet. So I have Druid here in front of me, which has a starting evasion score of 8. What do you have? You've got a bard in front of you right there. I do have a bard
in front of me.
What's your starting evasion score?
So my bard, I would actually start at a 9.
Oh, okay. So it's even better. So yeah, that's a evasion score will be set by your class. And then you'll have other modifiers to that based on other stats that you put in.
Weapon type even, like that, yeah.
All that kind of fun stuff. So yeah, so that you'll put that on your sheet when you create it. The next thing we have here is setting your thresholds and hope. So this is a really cool one. So the first thing here is your actual damage thresholds. So we have minor, major, and severe. Right. So you'll go through and you'll set each one of these damage thresholds, which is going to depend greatly upon your build, essentially.
Yeah. Essentially, what this is when your GM rolls for damage, right? Let's say you get hit. They roll above your evasion to hit you, which is, if you're coming from 5e or D in general, that's your AC, right? They get above that, they hit. Now they're going to roll their damage. And if your threshold, you've got the 3 different areas, you're either not doing damage at all, at which point you take a stress.
Yep.
They're at your
next
next
if it falls
section.
Between your minor. I mean, less than your minor.
Less than your minor.
So whatever your minor is, if the roll is less than that, you just take a stress.
You don't take damage, you do take a stress. Yep. Now, getting into the weeds, if you're maxed on stress, you do still take a damage.
Yeah.
Okay, move past that. Your next section, minor.
Yep.
You get taking 1 damage straight to your health.
Yep, so that's if the damage falls between the minor and the major.
Yep.
You'll take 1 hit point.
Next, 2 damage.
Yep, and that's between your major and your severe. So it falls in between those 2 numbers. 2 damage, so that's 2 hit points gone.
And severe damaging up 3 to your health. Now, you do not have a lot of health in this game, so that is, if you're coming from that D&D background, well, 3 damage. Who cares? As long as you're not a wizard, you're fine. You're not super meaty in this,
Not
so that
super
does matter.
meaty in this. Yeah.
Now, granted, and we'll get to it when we get to armor a little bit more, but you can choose to take a tick on your armor and actually bring that down some.
Yeah.
If it knocks you down either completely out under your minor or from a severe maybe into a major, your arm will take some of that hit.
Mm-hmm.
But it depends on what kind of armor you have.
Yeah, and then there's also different ways in the future. So leveling, for instance, to increase your damage threshold. So every single level that you get, you increase your severe threshold by at least 2, I believe. And then there's other things that you can do to change those damage thresholds. So,
I believe you can also increase just general health.
Yeah, general health can be increased.
Things, yep.
Yeah. The other thing that you do in this is you set your hope. So you'll start the game with 2 hope.
Yep.
Which hope is the kind of fluid currency that's used to perform actions and do special things. So this is the stuff that you're going to basically have on tap to kind of fuel your character. And you only get 5 and it caps at 5, right? So this is not something that you're going to hoard like inspiration for an entire campaign waiting to use it.
Yeah.
This is something that you're meant to use. So this kind of just gets the ball rolling, gets you 2 hope right out the jump.
And you're gonna want to be using it.
Oh,
Inspiration,
yeah, you're gonna
with
be
it kind of
using
being, depending on your GM, maybe you get every once in a while. This, you've got ways to give it to yourself if you choose to do so, or working with an ally, you can gain even more, or just passing a check and you're rolling your hope die is the higher number. You can roll with hope, you gain a hope die, things like that. Even failing a roll, but failing with hope, you can gain one. So you're gonna be gaining hope as you play this game.
Yep. So that's it for step number 5.
Woo, we're getting there.
Step number 6 is choosing your starting weapons. Now this one is really, really cool. So you decide what kind of weapons that you want to start the game with. And you put those details on your character sheet. Basically, you have a burden stat. So burden is whether or not it takes 1 hand, whether or not it takes 2 hands. So any weapon that you look at in here will have that burden listed on it. So the very first thing on this list is actually a battle axe, which is a 2-handed burden. So that means that you're going to need both your hands to use that battle axe.
Yeah. Now, there are a couple different categories here for general equipment that they go ahead and give us here. You've got your starting primary weapons that do physical damage. We'll go through these, but after we finish that section, we're going to get to starting primary weapons that do magic damage, which are the 2 damage types for weapons in this game. You have physical and magic. Then you've got your starting secondary weapons, and then, we'll get to armor and stuff past that.
Yeah. I think the most interesting thing here is that, and this is coming from the D&D perspective, right? Is that immediately you would think, oh, I'm going to take a magic weapon, right? Because magic weapons are innately better in Dungeons and Dragons than a standard weapon.
There's so many creatures that take, partial damage or no damage.
Yeah.
If it's a physical only non-magical weapon, plus the magic usually has the +1 to hit or the +2 benefits and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
But
so you think magic weapon is good. So you think, like right off the jump, they're telling you here, you can choose if you want to take a physical weapon or you can take a magical weapon right off the jump. So you're like, why would I choose a physical weapon?
Yeah.
It's because you have to think about this differently because magic weapons aren't the same here. They're magic, yes, which means that they do magic damage. But we have to look at this a little bit separately because they're going to be creatures that are, basically immune to physical damage, immune to magical damage. So it's not like you're getting a better weapon by choosing magic out the jump. You're getting a different kind of weapon.
Exactly.
So that's
really
mix
a balance
what it comes down to. Yeah. So just seeing magic weapon and then saying, oh, why would I ever choose physical is kind of like the knee-jerk reaction for some people. But you have to remember, this is a different game here.
Yeah. Plus, not to mention, just if you're flavoring your character and what your visual is, it's not a 1-to-1, a weapon type from one to the other like you would find in a D&D.
Yeah.
Where it's a magic great axe, which is replacing my other great axe that was been passed down my family for generations, and this one's a +1, so I'll take it now. Yeah. If you want the battle axe, you're going physical.
Yeah. So what you have for each one of these things is you have the name of it, obviously, right? So we have the name of the equipment. We have the trait that it uses. So, for example, we'll just go straight across with battle axe. It's the first one, which uses your strength. You have the range of this weapon, which battle axe is melee. Then you have feature, which is any extra abilities that it gives you. The damage type, which in this case is physical, and then the burden, which is what it takes.
Yeah.
Now the range is interesting because
Yes, it is.
this is not traditional range anymore either. So we're not dealing with this is a 5 foot, this is a 10 foot. We're dealing with melee range. You have very close, you have far.
You have close.
Or you have
that.
close, and then you have far, and then very far. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So each one of these has one of those there, which is not the way you do standard measurements in Dungeons and Dragons.
I believe it's like a pencil or something like that.
So melee range
if you're using a battle map.
Yeah, if you're using a battle map, melee range is just that. It's like you in range with somebody.
Yeah.
So like you're in melee range. Close, if I remember correctly, is the short side of a card.
I believe so.
Okay. And then that would be, no, that's very close. Close is the long side of the card. Far is the pencil,
like
standard pencil size.
Yeah.
And then very far is like a sheet of paper or beyond, I guess.
So
yeah,
it's interesting because we talked about this a little bit earlier off camera. This to me seems like a game that leans heavily towards theater of the mind, which I think your rebuttal was the other way around. It's obvious it's geared towards battle map and stuff. I don't know when your measurement is the short side of a card.
So okay, hear me out.
Yeah.
The measurement is not 5 feet, 10 feet, 20 feet, right? So it's not as like you're not in the minutia of
there's no
distance
ruler.
drawing using a ruler, right? So you're kind of just guessing on it. I think it's just a different way of looking at the battle map, because we look at a battle map, and if you're coming from the TTRPG community playing Dungeons & Dragons, or if you're playing other games like Warhammer or War Machine or Battletech or anything like that, you're used to actually looking at a map and then having like hard measurements on things,
that's
right?
what the map's for.
No, I argue that's not what the map is for. That's one of the uses of a map. The other one is to aid in
visual aid,
the theater of the mind. And I think this lends itself very well to that, because it's a set piece now. So you don't have to really concern yourself with how close the edge of your base is to the closeness of the other edge of the base, or that terrain feature or anything like that. And you're going to get bogged down in that anyway. Like if you're casting a spell that has an area of effect, you're going to spend, a couple of minutes trying to position it just so that you hit your, the enemy, and you don't hit your teammates, or you hit as many enemies as you can. Yeah, we've all been there doing that. And you can still do that in this game, but you don't have to bog down with the actual measurements of things, because now it's more of, this is the set piece that I have in front of me. And now I'm using these measurements to come up with, how things are going to work. That is more nebulous and leads more to being in the moment instead of being in the rules crunch.
I just feel like it's going to come up where if at the end of the day, all this is up to your GM's interpretation anyway, at their final ruling of whether you're in range or not. And sure, there'll be some pushback here and there, of course, which, I'm okay with. Let's talk it out. But if it's all theater of the mind, and the bad guy's up here on a hill, and you're shooting up some sort of fire spell or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, they're up here, and you're like, well, they're within range of this, right? And I'm like, I don't really know. They're actually pretty high up. Then you're like, okay, maybe. Well, what if I, get up on the hill a little more? Versus it's if I've got some terrain or a battle map, and I'm like, well, there's some elevation here, and you're like, oh, you pull out the pencil, and you're like, who's got a pencil? Like, I gotta line this up. See, this should be within right. I'm like, whatever. Like, I'm just waiting on the amount of like school utility that like just like breaking out like my kid's backpack to pull out everything but the ruler.
That's the thing. That is
try to map this
I don't
out.
think it's going to happen like that. You're not going to.
You don't think this is going to happen?
No, you're not going to have a set of rulers that like this one's as long as a pencil.
Don't use the ruler.
This one's as long as a paper. You know what I mean?
They should sell these.
No. That's a guideline. That's why they say it's about this, up close to that. So it's more of a loose. I think it's more loosey goosey as far as that's considered. You're not going to actually have a pencil, because I'm going to you're not going to be out there like, how much did you sharpen that pencil?
Right.
Did you sharpen it at all? Because if not,
only
it's probably a little bit
pencils.
too. Yeah. So it's like you get into
the standard measurement. Is that a number 2? Unsharpened? All right.
Is that letter or is that legal? Because legal, I mean.
Oh, right.
So yeah.
Novelty pencils.
Range is interesting, and I'm
not
on
against
the
it.
4 side. I love it. So do you want to do some equipment?
Not really, but I will. Just kidding. about the first part. I would love to do equipment, Richard. So all of these are going to be melee until I say otherwise. Keep that in mind.
Okay.
So we've got our battle axe, like you mentioned, which is strength-based weapon. You got a warhammer, strength-based, great sword, strength, mace, strength. Then we get to some of the more finesse-based with your agility weapons with the saber, the long sword, and the short sword. The rapier and uses your presence as the trait, which is interesting. And then the dagger and uses your finesse, and quarterstaff your instinct as your modifier. That's really interesting because depending on how you build your character, there is a trait that can be like a weapon that'll benefit from that trait.
Yes, yeah.
Like instinct is more of, if I were to put it in D&D terms, similar to like your perception kind of thing.
Yeah, so instinct is your perception, your senses, and your navigation.
And the fact that the quarterstaff actually benefits most from that trait is interesting.
Yes, which is very interesting, yeah.
Now, we go into the halberd, which is a very close, so you do get a little farther away with that range. Of course, you've got, and that's not strength-based, you've got your short bow, which is agility at a far distance, crossbow, which is finesse at a far distance, and your longbow using the agility modifier trait at a very far range.
Yeah.
So that, as far as our physical weapons, I believe is our only very far weapon.
Yes, that is the only very far one, which makes sense.
It also, compared to the other ranged weapons, has the potential of doing the most damage with a D10 being used and a +2 on top of that.
Yeah.
That is really, really up there. It does, oh God, and I skipped over all these. I don't know how in depth you want to go for all this. Some weapons have modifiers.
Yes.
Like actual features. So the longbow, for example, is cumbersome. So it actually gives you a -1 to your evasion. So after you set up your traits and you add in your modifiers that you assign to each of them, once you choose your weapons, like I mentioned earlier, some of the weapons can buff them or whatever. This is actually negative.
Yeah, it's a negative, but you're getting a very far range.
Absolutely, but your evasion being like, whether someone hits you or not, big deal.
Technically, you should be far away when you're using that longbow,
100%.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
This is leading into those builds like a ranger build or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So is this something, well, are you going to go ranger for this, or are you going to go full armor, low evasion anyway?
Low evasion anyway. Yeah, you could.
And you're just like, huge plate mail man, but you're also at the back of the map. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
so this isn't the only weapon that gives you a negative,
no, it's
too.
not.
So we have the Warhammer actually gives you a -2 to your agility because it's a large weapon.
It's
or -1 to your agility,
yep.
yeah. And then you also have the Great Sword, which is a massive weapon again, which gives you a -1 agility again, but it's even bigger. So it actually rolls 1 extra damage die and drops the lowest. So it's even bigger. So it's doing even more damage.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you're losing that 1 to agility.
That's a really cool ability though, because your damage die is a D10 and you get a +2. So you're rolling 2d10, dropping the lowest one.
Yeah.
Sick.
And on the opposite side, you have something like the Rapier, which is small and gives you a +1 to agility.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of a minus to your agility, taking the Rapier gives you a +1 to your agility.
Yep.
And then we have the Long Sword, which is a reliable weapon, which gives you a +1 to attack rolls, just because it's your old standard long sword. This is it. Mm-hmm. And then Dagger has one of the coolest abilities, I think, which is the quick ability. So you mark a stress. So you just take an extra stress to attack an additional target in range.
So that's how they're handling some multi-attack here.
Yeah, so you're getting to attack again because dagger, small, stabby.
Now, one big thing to remember here is that, we didn't get into burden too much of the one-hand or two-hand, but that dagger, it's one-handed.
Yeah.
Might get a chance to equip that as your secondary later down the line.
Yeah. So the next thing we have here is our starting primary weapons that are magic.
Mm-hmm.
The first one we have is the Arcane Gauntlets, and those are a strength trait, melee range.
Mm-hmm.
We have the Hallowed Axe, which is a strength trait, melee range. Hand Runes, which is interesting because I'm trying to figure out what this is. I'm assuming that it is, I would assume like markings on your hands that make your hands a magical weapon. Yep. Which is amazing.
I'm picturing, maybe it's on your palm or something.
Maybe on your palm.
I'm picturing on the back, kind of like, what was that? There was a FPS magic game that came out recently where you
Yeah.
but yeah, like
No,
just
hand
something
runes just sounds
enhances, yeah.
Now these use the instinct trait and their melee range. The next thing you have is glowing rings, which is an agility very close. Again, glowing rings. Is this rings on your fingers, or is this like some Shang-Chi?
So since it's very close instead of melee, I'm thinking it's Shang-Chi.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Like rings around your wrists there. That'd be kind of cool. The next thing we have is the short staff, which is an instinct close range. You have a wand, which is a knowledge far. So this is just a straight up, Harry Potter wand. You're just casting spells at people from a very far range.
Which, okay, right there, that's actually a big difference, right? Straight up damage. You're not casting a spell.
Yeah, you're just doing damage.
Fireball. This is or firebolt.
This is so different than like a caster in D&D.
Right.
Yeah, because you're not casting the spell.
You're attacking with your wand.
Yeah. You're just which is really, really neat. Dual staff, which is instinct far. So again, this is another instinct weapon. Returning blade, which is a finesse far. So I'm guessing this is some kind of flavored blade that you can throw at a far range and then it just comes back to you.
Oh yeah, Mjolnir.
A scepter, which is a presence far, and the great staff, which is a knowledge very far.
Yep.
And then we have two of these things on this list that have an extra feature, just like we had some on the normal ones. The first one is that scepter. So that one has the versatile feature, which is presence melee of D10. So it's a scepter that you can use to basically cast and hit somebody with a D8 plus 2 at a far range, right? Or you could use it as a melee weapon up close to do 1d10.
Correct. Yep.
You can whack somebody with your scepter. The other thing is the great staff, which has the feature of powerful. So you roll one extra damage die and drop the lowest. So just like the great sword, this is a great staff that has the magical ability to hit really hard.
Yep. The only reason it's not the same feature is because it doesn't have that negative like the greatsword had.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Now, question. I may have missed this. Do you know if you use one of these weapons in closer range, right? If your weapon is far range and you use it close, is there a negative modifier on there?
I believe they discussed this in their video where it was Matt Mercer and Spencer Stark talking about that kind of a thing, which we haven't dove into the many page rulebook just yet to clarify this. But I think that they said in there that there are basically rules in there for the game master to make a judgment call as far as negative effects. Because obviously the first thing that comes to mind is, okay, we're in very close and I pull out my longbow.
Yeah, right.
Which there's an argument to be made that some characters could do something along that lines, right? Somebody who is very proficient with a longbow. You're going back to what Lord of the Rings, Legolas doing crazy bow stuff at point blank range or something like that. So if I'm correct, I believe that they said that there are rules to cover this for the game master to be able to make those calls essentially. But it's going to come with a negative probably. So, yeah.
Then we got a shortish list, about the same as the magic one. We got our starting secondary weapons. Now, all these, at least listed here from the starting, are going to be physical as well. You've got your round shield, which is only going to use up one hand. So this is what you're going to use for your shield in one hand, short sword or something in your other hand. Typical like build there. The round shield is a strength trait, use in melee range. You can use it for damage.
Yeah,
it's a D4 damage.
You can whack somebody with it.
It has the protective features, gives you a +2 to your armor score. Something else interesting here, as I'm going to go through, is I'm going to go ahead and read them. Almost all of these
have a feature.
Yeah,
that's what I was going to point out, is that every single one of these, with the exception of the crossbow, has a special feature.
Yep.
So this is really cool.
Next, we have the tower shield. This is a strength-based shield with melee range as well. It's going to be a D6 for your weapon die because the bigger shield. Its feature is that it is a barrier. Add +4 to your armor score, but a -2 to your evasion.
It's
big,
massive.
If you're going armor build, woo, this might be the way to go.
I mean, you're going to get hit more because of the lower evasion score, but that armor, you're going to have tons of armor to be able to just negate that damage if you need to.
Yep. Next, like I alluded to earlier, you can choose a dagger that has the finesse trait, melee range. If you pair it, you add a +2 to your primary weapon damage in melee. So just by having this on you as your bonus, your primary weapon will get a +2.
This is so interesting because it makes dagger just
Dagger.
not necessarily a rogue thing.
Right.
Like you could be a caster and dagger somebody.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then, I mean, I'm trying to see. So it's finesse. What other we have? No, I was trying to see if there's any other cool finesse things up here. Oh, other than dagger.
Well, I mean, dagger. I mean, there's crossbows and daggers. Those are your two primary finesse weapons.
Yeah, but if you.
Yeah. And then returning blade for your magic is your other finesse weapon, which would be kind of cool too.
Yeah, but you're gonna want to have it's specifically bonused if it's in melee range.
Oh, melee range, yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, you're looking at
dagger,
yeah.
Dagger. Unless, well, question. If your primary weapon, let's say, was a rapier and you focused on presence, and you just have the dagger as your secondary for that bonus, you're not actually using the dagger necessarily for its special trait, using as the weapon.
Yeah, you're using
you still get the
you
plus
still
two.
get the plus bonus, yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah, you could still use that and then have it as your offhand that, maybe doesn't have as good as a chance to hit if you did, but is increasing your rapier.
Your primary, yeah. Okay. Love it. Short sword, agility based trait with melee, paired, same as the dagger, +2 to primary weapons. So you can go full Kirito and have 2 short swords or something.
Yeah, 2 short swords, yeah.
Now I'm so glad this is here. Whip, agility, very close. Also interesting. I'm surprised it's not just close on the whip. Very close.
Yeah.
Whip crack as your feature. Marks stress to scatter enemies in melee back to close range. Okay.
That's kind of cool. I think I like the whip. It's 1d6. So it's not like insanely powerful.
Right.
But the cool thing about this is like I can immediately think of like doing a build where I'm using the whip and a short sword or the whip and a saber.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, because you're like got the saber and then you're cracking a whip to hit people back and then moving in and out of combat. I think it could be really cool.
Question for you. With it saying mark stress to scatter enemies in melee back to close range. If you have multiple enemies in close range and you crack this whip, do you scatter multiple enemies back to close range, or is it an enemy?
I think it's multiple enemies that are in that range. Yeah,
within very close.
Okay, because it's not that you're cracking the whip on one person. You're cracking the whip as like an effect.
Okay,
right. Yeah,
I agree. Just want to see your thoughts. Grappler.
This one is cool.
It is agility trait, close range, and your feature is hook. On a successful attack, you may also pull the target into melee with you. So even though this is a secondary weapon, is this a weapon?
Yes.
Is this saying your fist is a weapon?
No, this is an actual
this is a device?
This is a device, yes. Like this is like Scorpion. Just get over here.
Okay. I'm thinking more along of like it's a feature of yourself. It's a trait that I have.
No. Grappler, okay. I interpret grappler as in like a chain with a hook on the end of it or something like that you're using. And this is a close weapon, not very close. This is close.
Right.
So this is, getting somebody that's, 10 feet out away from you, grabbing them and then yanking them up in a melee range. So this is a really cool thing, but I see it as an actual physical item.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's probably my favorite secondary thing that's
more
on
than
here.
the whip.
Yeah, I think it beats out the whip.
I'm torn because that tower shield, I just like that allows you to min-max so heavily.
Oh, of course.
Away from being able to dodge a hit and just bring it on.
Yeah.
Last for this, you've got the crossbow with finesse and the far range. Nothing fancy about it, but it's a secondary, weapon.
Yeah.
You get a little bow in there. So if you've got a melee weapon as your primary, you could have that secondary.
Yeah, you could have that secondary.
And it coming from D&D, a lot of starting equipment will include crossbow or short bow or something like that. This is kind of the option.
Yeah,
if
this
you
is kind of like
build
the standard.
direction.
Yeah, if you're going for like the default kind of like,
I've got a short sword and
does a little
crossbow.
bit of everything. Yeah, exactly. Because you got your short sword and then you're not completely, out of luck if something's out of range from you. So yeah, that's that right there is all of our starting weapons. So that's our current list for right now. Maybe it will change in the future. Maybe we'll get more. I doubt we'll get less.
Right.
But yeah, we might get more once we come out of beta, but we'll wait and see. That's it for that. The next thing we have here is starting armor. So this one is take one of the available starting armors.
Yep.
And then record that appropriate points on your sheet itself. So we have a starting armor list. It's not huge, so it's pretty straightforward. So you have name, feature, and armor score. Those are the only things you have for your armor. The first thing we have is leather armor. This has the feature of light, so it automatically gives you a +1 to evasion right off the jump.
Yep.
Which is really, really cool. Makes it harder to hit you.
However,
and it has an armor score of 3, which is very, very low.
Armor score, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's where when you get hit, you can check a box. If you wish for your armor to take the hit, you can check it, and it negates that much from the incoming damage to put you in different threshold brackets, correct?
Yes. So basically the way to look at it is like, say we'll look back at our thresholds, right? So I have a minor threshold of 12. Okay. And I get attacked by a goblin, right? And he hits me for, let's say 15 damage. Right. So that's the 15 damage that's coming to me. Right now, that 15 we'll say is going to fall between my minor and my major. So my minor is 12. It exceeds that. My major, we'll just say it's 16. So it's 15, which means I'm going to take 1 hit point of damage here. Now, if I have leather armor and I choose to mark off 1, that lessens that damage by 3, right? So that would take me down to 12. I'm still in that threshold. I'm still taking that 1 damage.
Right.
If it was, say, breastplate armor, right? That has an armor score of 5. If I tick off that 1 armor, now that brings it down to a 10 below threshold. I don't take any damage.
Yeah, okay.
And it works the same for the other thresholds. So if you're in between the major severe, you can bump it down to a minor. If you're in the severe, you can bump it down to the major or severe.
But if you have the armor slots to do it, you haven't marked them all yet,
you can
check
double up. Yeah. So if I'm having that leather armor, that's a 3, right? So he hits me for that 15. I mark off 1 armor score. That takes it down to 12. I really don't want to take this hit point of damage.
This could be it.
Yeah,
you might only have that one.
Yeah, I only have 1 hit point. I'll mark off another armor point.
Yep.
And then now I'm doing a total of 6. So that takes it down to a 9. So it's below my threshold. So I'm not going to take that damage. Now, starting off, you only have 3 armor points.
Right. But you can get more.
You get more. You can do that on a short rest. You can use your basically actions on a short rest to mend armor, or you can do it during your long rest, which is at the end of the day. But just jumping off, you only have 3 armor points. There are also other ways to get extra armor points, and that is
extra armor slots.
Extra armor slots,
to mark off,
that's through like domain cards. You can do it. You can do it through leveling and stuff like that.
And that's where I'm really getting at when it comes to these armor builds.
Yeah, that's where you can really start to min-max this armor build. Yeah. So yeah, leather armor is the worst of the armors. Of course. So that's only going to get you a 3 points. So for every armor tick that you take off, you're only going to mitigate 3 damage.
So if you've got leather, you're going high evasion.
Yeah, you're trying to go high evasion. You don't want to get hit, which is good because it gives you a +1 to that evasion. Breastplate armor is the kind of the next one, the middle of the road, which means it has no features, right? So it's just breastplate armor. No additional features, but a 5 armor score. Not bad. Which is respectable. That's really, really good. Yeah, you get no extra features.
No negatives, no positives.
No negatives, no positive, but 5 armor score. The next thing you have is chainmail armor. So now we're getting a little bit heftier. So we're going to hit with a feature that is a negative because it's heavy. And you're going to get a -1 to your evasion. Oof. So right now you're getting into this is a lot harder to move around in. It's going to be easier to hit me. However, I got a 7 armor now. So for every one of those points, you're reducing the damage incoming to you by 7.
It's hard. I have trouble.
Big number.
I have trouble justifying this one though. The +1 to evasion is not nothing. That could be the difference of getting hit or not. And it only allows you to reduce another 2.
I disagree.
To
the breastplate armor. But I disagree because of the fact that we have 3 armor slots that you can use here.
Yeah.
You hit 2 of those, that's -14.
Yeah.
-14 to a damage roll
for sure.
is huge.
But compared to -10, it's only another
minus
4.
10. 4 can be a big deal. I don't know. I kind of like it. And it's only 1 point of evasion. Only 1 point.
Yeah, but that's a point every single time you're rolled against.
Yeah.
Forever.
But there's also ways to bump, your evasion up. Yeah. So
Now,
I don't know. I see where it's coming from.
On the other end of things, where I fully lean into it.
Oh, you want to go full in.
Uh-huh.
So our final entry here is full plate armor. So this is very heavy. So you thought -1 evasion was bad. This gets you a -2 evasion and a -1 to agility.
I love
So this is full tilt. You don't care that you're going to get hit.
Going to get hit.
Because you're going to get hit.
Yeah.
You're also not going to be moving very far.
No.
Because you have -1 agility. So this whole range we talked about before, which is the melee close, very close, is different now because we're now talking about moving. So like very far might require an agility roll to move that far, to move a certain amount of distance. Wearing this heavy armor is going to make movement in general a lot harder. However, the trade-off here, 9 armor.
It's awesome.
9. So right off the jump, you take this as your level 1 character. You have 3 armor points that you can tick off in a combat. Somebody hits you with a 13, you mark off 1.
Yeah.
9 of that is gone. That's 4. There's no way they're dealing damage to you.
Yeah.
That damage is not coming through. So you have 3 hits right off the jump. This is not including any bonuses you might get that give you extra armor.
Back to the tower shield.
Yeah.
Sure, you're gonna take another 2 minus to that evasion.
You wear that.
But yeah, you're at 13 now. Every time you check an armor.
They're going to hit you every time, but the damage isn't going to do anything.
They're going to look at you and it's going to hit you. Yeah. But you're going to bounce it off.
This is really, really cool. And this is one of the things that we talked about in the past, which was we were trying to figure out how armor worked because it seemed like it was kind of a weird system because we didn't have the context on how to mend your own armor. And now that we know that you can mend that armor on a short rest to an extent, not everything, but you can mend parts of it. Or on a long rest, you can spend your action. Now, it does require action, though, so you do have to make choices there.
2 of them night, right?
Yeah. So you do have to make choices there. So you might not be able to mend all of your armor, but if you are going to mend all of your armor, you might not be able to do other things like work on projects or, heal people or anything like that, like do actual healing instead of mending of armor.
This is where your characters are going to diverge because if you had a combat, your heavy frontliner or backliner with a long bow who's just heavily armored for whatever reason, however you build your character, heavy armor, you're going to be fully repairing that if you got
you're going to be spending your rest
because that's your
nights
health
repairing your armor. Yeah, because that's your
that's
your
going to
bread
get
and
hit, so you have to keep this in tip-top shape.
Yeah.
Which I think it's going to make for some cool gameplay because the difference of playing a character like this versus playing a rogue or a ranger, someone with lighter armor is going to be a very different play style. I think even more so than 5e of where I have a low AC, but maybe I have a lot of health, or maybe I have a lot of AC and a lot of health. So I'm the tank and the other person just tries to stay back. This, it's almost the opposite where like I'm in the front and I'm going to get hit all the time. But I'm going to really tank it. I'm not tanking it with my health. I'm the same squishy meat sack that you are, but I'm just covered in expensive armor.
Yeah, covered in expensive armor.
There's so much steel between
that you've
me
trained
and them.
so hard to just repair.
Yeah,
that's your whole life. Is I know how to fix this breastplate.
My mentor told me the difference between life and death was properly buffing out these scrapes. So
you see this tiny hammer? This is just for making it curved again.
Right.
That's the only reason why I own this hammer.
Mm-hmm. Without the curve, the blade may stick into the same area multiple times. This helps deflect it to the left and the right.
But yeah, it's a really cool system. I like it now a lot.
I'm super into it.
And it's very easy. You're literally choosing between 4 armors.
Yep.
Right? That's very, very quick. And that's if you even choose armor. So there are classes that benefit from not having armor at all.
Insanity.
Yeah, which is funny. So yeah, you might not even choose one of these armors, and you might have a better armor score for it, depending on what your build might be. But yeah, that's your armor. So once you've chosen your armor, next thing we have is our starting inventory.
Really quick,
if
you don't mind. With it, and if you listen to Critical Role's one shot or their session 0 where they're demonstrating character creation and stuff, they really, really demonstrate, thanks to Sam, how versatile this can be. And I believe any TTRPG should be like this, but that's just how I run games. If you want to super stick to the rules, absolutely, it's your game, your table, your friends. But they demonstrate from the people who are really working and selling this game and just are like, hey, my character has these like scales and is wearing all this denim that's incorporating it. I chose like the full plate mail instead of it being full plate mail. Can that just kind of be like a denim scale combination where it effectively is full plate mail? Yeah. And they're just like, I love it.
Sure.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
And with it only being these 4, it leads so heavily into theatrics and just
open descriptions.
Exactly. Yeah. Which I absolutely adore.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. Yeah.
Love it. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good. The next thing is starting inventory. So every character actually has a starting inventory of a take. So it's a straight up same thing for the first part, which is a torch, 50 foot of rope, basic supplies, and a handful of gold. Mm-hmm. The basic supplies is all of the just general necessities and daily minutia that you don't have to go through. Like, we don't have to know how many rations that you have, and how many candles that you're carrying or anything like that.
They also handle currency
the same way.
It's not like to the copper and the silver and the gold and the whatever the other one, electrum, that no one actually uses.
Yeah, no, this is a lot more simple, I guess you'd say. Yeah, because you have handfuls of gold that then turn into like bags of gold, that then turn into chests of gold, hordes of gold, and then finally a fortune. So you're rich. Yeah.
So if you're like weapon shopping and stuff like that, maybe your GM will call for like some more, a couple bags of gold, pay for this, whatever. But if you're just checking a hotel, like, it's just you pay them
handful.
You pay,
you've covered it.
You're good to go. You've got some food and stuff. You don't got to really worry about it.
Yeah. So that one's pretty basic. Then each individual class has some extra stuff, so that they can get something that's a little bit more geared towards them. So that might be potions or something of the like.
You've got.
So yeah, I've got a druid here in front of me.
Yep, and I've got a bard.
My choices are a health potion, a stamina potion, and then either a small bag of rocks and bones or a strange pendant found in the dirt.
Mm-hmm. I, as a bard, would get to choose between either a health potion or a stamina potion. The difference there, the health potion clears 1d4 hit points, where the stamina potion actually doesn't clear hit points. It clears stress, which I just imagine it's a cup of coffee.
Yeah. It's just that's a shot of espresso.
Yeah. And then either a romance novel or a letter that has never been opened.
Ooh, that's kind of cool.
Then I decide what I want to carry my spells in as a bard.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because you have an additional thing.
I get a spell book, a journal, or my favorite, etc.
Yeah. So
it's open,
whatever
my friends.
You want. Yeah.
What do you want it to be in?
Yeah.
Do you want to have your spells tattooed across your body? Here's your chance.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool. So you have a basic starting inventory that is like your general supplies, which is left to the imagination. You don't have to really get into it.
You don't have to like micromanage.
Yeah, you don't have to micromanage it.
Hey, Jim, would I have a candle?
Yeah.
So I could see in dimly lit places like that and a way to light it. Like, I'm sure you have flint,
sure you
steel,
probably
whatever.
do. Yeah. And then you do have a couple of cool, unique things to
You're not a novice.
Get you into your class.
Right.
Yeah. The next thing here is choosing your description. So also on here, they have some suggestions.
Which I love this too.
But again, none of this is required. And this reminds me a little bit of Monster of the Week, right? Because they did the same thing.
Absolutely.
In there. You can just tell us what you look like a normal character creation. So you can go through and do that. Or you can use their slight, kind of variations, and each one is slightly different. So not all of them are the same, but they have things that are like your clothing could be, scraps. It could be regal, patchwork, loose, camouflage, nobility, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Eyes. So like not actual color. So it's not like yellow eyes, green eyes. It's like eyes that are like fire or lilacs or carnations or sea foam. Right.
And then it's there's going to be overlap between the different classes.
Oh, yeah,
but
for sure.
Some of the options it gives you as, like, maybe you should try this are unique. Because of just general perception of these classes.
Yeah.
Like for a bard, for example, do you have Endless Ocean?
I do have Endless Ocean.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
You have eyes like Endless Ocean.
Which is cool. But again, these are just suggestions. Right. So just because Endless Ocean is on Bard and Druid and not on, the warrior class doesn't mean you can't have eyes like Endless Ocean as a warrior.
100%.
This is just jumping off points. Yeah.
You could just follow this and build a generic.
Yeah.
so to speak.
And they go from that, they go to like a body type, they go to the color of your body, so your skin tone, and then actual attitude.
Which I love. What are your attitudes?
So my attitudes are a guide.
Okay.
A hippie, a dog, a firecracker,
a dog,
or a witch.
A dog?
I'm a druid. I could be a dog.
You could just were you a dog who became a person?
No, I'm a golden retriever boy.
Just a good old boy.
Good old boy.
All right. Well, as a bard, my suggested attitudes are a ringmaster, a magician, a barkeep, a rock star.
Yeah, see?
Or a swashbuckler.
They work.
They're so good.
They work.
Especially because if I'm thinking bard, right? I'm coming off D&D. I'm thinking you're scaling short haul, back to critical role. Or, you're generic like I try to get it in where I can kind of bard, right? But they're like, no. What if you worked for a circus? What if you were a pirate? You could still be a bard, homie. It doesn't have to be the generic like
there's all kinds of
travel
bards.
And play music. Yeah.
It's
great.
Nope. I like that a lot. It gives you kind of a jumping off point. Or you can just come up with whatever you want.
It gets you going.
Yeah, it gets you going. Or you just make up your own description because you have an idea for your character already.
Eyes like an ocean.
The next thing we have in here is our domain cards. So this is where you're choosing your abilities that you have. There are a lot.
There's a whole lot
of domain cards.
How many you get at first?
So you get, basically, there are 2 domains for each class. Yep. Right. So for instance,
overlap.
you have, overlap. So Arcana or Blade. So you would choose your domain cards from those 2 domains. When you start off, there are 3 domain cards, basically for each level.
For each domain.
So there's 3 different ones that you'll choose for each. So you're going to choose 2 right off the jump.
Yeah.
And you choose from that list of 6 domain cards. So you have 6
they don't
options.
have to be from the same domain.
They don't have to be from the same domain.
You have access as a class to 2 domains.
Yep.
At level 1, 3 cards from each domain.
Each one, and you're choosing 2 cards.
Right.
Yeah.
And what I meant by overlap is since every class has 2 domains, your class will have 2. The next class, next in line, might have one of the same one as you that you share, but then they'll have another one with a different class. And that's where overlap goes.
Yep. And depending on how many players you have, you might have people that overlap domains.
Right.
You might not.
Yeah, exactly.
Just depends. Yeah.
Depends how everybody builds and, what class they choose from and stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
And every domain at level 1 has 3 cards.
Right.
And then every time you level, each domain has 2 additional cards for that level, all the way up to level 10.
Which is your cap.
Is your cap. Okay. So yeah, every time you level up, there's 2 extra domain cards that match your level, at which point you take another domain card from either that level or a lower level. So you're building out your domain card deck. There are a lot of cards because, like I said, there's 3 at every first level domain, and then there's 2 additional at every single level thereafter.
Right.
So if you really want to get into the weeds what these classes can do, you need to download the beta and read all these cards because there are a lot of cards. But we'll go over the domains real quick and kind of tell you the description of each of the domains. The first one is Arcana. So this one is innate and instinctual magic. So this is the magic users, and this is the magic that comes naturally. You have the Blade domain, which is the one of weapon mastery. So this is the people that know how to use weapons well. Then you have the Bone domain, which is the one of swiftness and tactical mastery. So this is about maneuvering and tactician stuff. You have Codex, which is magical studies. So this is not innate magic. This is studied magic.
Yep. It's not Maybelline.
Yep.
It's
maybe it's Maybelline. Maybe
it's
learned.
It's knowledge and lots of reading.
The next thing you have is Grace, which is your charisma and enchantment. Right. The next thing you have is your Midnight. So this is your shadow and secrecy. Think rogue.
So good.
Yep. Then you have Sage, which is your natural world magic. So this is going to be your druids, your woods magic, your forest magic. You have Splendor, which is life and death and the balance of. So this is where your healing magic is really going to come into play. And then you have Valor, which is your protection domain. So this is, your beefy, wannabe, protector tank of the group. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to be, and you will be.
Of the group. So yeah, those are your domains. And like I said, when you first hit your character, you're going to choose 2 cards out of your 2 main domains. And like you said, you can mix and match that. And then every time you level thereafter, you're going to get a new set of domain cards to pick from. So every time you level, there's 4 new cards coming into the arena that you're going to choose one from, or from the old ones to then build your domain deck.
Right. So that's important. If you don't pick one this level up, it's not gone. It's still there.
It's still there to pick the next time you level up.
So if you level up and you really wanted to get both from your 3rd level up, you could go grab that now. When you hit level 4, you could grab it immediately.
Yeah, you don't have to always go for the biggest and the best. You can always, go for a lower level
spell.
Not
always best.
Not always the best.
Yeah,
depending on what kind of build you're doing.
Especially with some of these cards have... Basically, you have these domain cards, and even then, once it's what, 5 is the max you can have.
So you have 5 on
equipped?
you that are active that you can choose from, and then anything thereafter goes into your vault.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you can switch those at long rest.
Yep. At a long rest, you're allowed to basically just switch them out
as you want.
So it doesn't really come into effect until later levels because you have to have enough cards to have a vault. So you're looking at level 5 and up, right? But then at your rest, you can then switch those out.
Right. But a big thing, and this is where I think some of the lower level ones might actually come in, where you might want to choose some lower level, not always some of the higher level ones, is there are different stress costs where at any point outside of a long rest, you could swap a domain for that stress cost. And some of them cost 0.
Yeah, and this is in the middle of combat.
Right.
Like you're like, oh man, I really wish I would have prepared that spell before this combat. Oh wait, I'll just use the stress to know it.
Yep. So any of those ones that cost 0, why not just have those in the vault?
Swap them out, yeah.
And then if it comes up that you need it, you do it.
Yeah.
And you just pay anything for it.
So it's kind of a neat little deck building kind of situation, but it lends itself to a really cool way to have abilities that you choose, that you grow into. And there's 2 different ways you can play this. You can play this as a singular deck where the players at the table have to share the same card pool, right? So, that way nobody has the same abilities. Or you can, have multiple decks and they can share abilities.
Right. Think of, it's not as, I don't think, evident as when you're printing everything anyway.
Yeah.
Or using demi-plane or anything like that. But if you were to go to your, local mom and pop or whatever, and you get this physically, right? And it comes with these cards. You've got the one set of all these domain cards. And you're, like I said, you might be sharing, there might be some across party members, and you take a card for a domain. The question is then up to the party and the GM, does that now lock that card out from another player?
Yeah.
Because, hey, I already took the card. This is the only one of these. Or do you print it, make a, copy it, make a proxy, put that paper version or whatever in there, and then the other player could pick that if they wanted. And both are allowed officially.
Yeah, so basically it's going to be up to the GM's discretion.
Yep.
What kind of game
if they allow proxies.
Play. Yeah.
I won't be allowing proxies.
I think it's a little more interesting to not do proxies.
I agree.
And just have one shared deck that the group that is playing makes the decisions around.
I like I just like the feeling of it better, and probably the flow and the fact that the players are going to have to make strategic decisions when choosing not only what cards they're picking from their domains, but the classes and whether they have overlap in domains.
Yeah, no, I think it's just a different way to play that I think will be more enjoyable.
I agree.
So yeah, I like that option, but it is an option.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now we get to the last and final parts of character creation, which are arguably the best parts of character creation. This is where we get to the real fun stuff.
Everything's been so good so far, though.
But this is where it gets real fun. Number 11 is answer background questions. So this is where the fun starts. We're not to the super fun yet, but this is where the fun starts, which is you have some basic background questions on your character sheet. And these are, generic questions that you answer that help you build your backstory of your character. So an example for one of these, which is why was the community you grew up in so reliant on nature and its creatures? And this is a druid question.
Yeah.
So this right here is a way for me to give a little bit of background about the community that I'm from and how it shaped me as a character. What's your first background example?
My first background as a bard would be, who from your community taught you to have such confidence in yourself?
Yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these are really cool ways to just start the ball rolling on your character generation.
All entirely optional.
Yes. Yeah.
You don't even need to fill these out.
You don't need to fill these out. You
just
can
make your own character like you would in any other game.
You could, yeah. But
or sit down at the table,
or
make your
sit
character
down
in minutes.
Make
You're just filling stuff out.
And because you have right off the jump on every single one of these 4 different background questions that help you get that going. So that's really, really cool. The next thing you have...
I only have 3.
Oh, you have 3. Okay, yeah, I have 4 on mine.
Look at you.
The next thing that you have here is something that's super cool. I love this. Generate experiences. So you are going to, at the beginning here, you're going to generate 2 different narrative experiences. You assign a +2 to one and a +1 to the other. Now, what these are experiences that you've had in your life, right? That are going to give you a bonus to something that happens in the story. So this, I think, is probably one of my favorite parts.
This is neat as heck. I wish the character sheet, at least right now, had a spot to put these.
Yes. No, true.
I don't understand why it doesn't.
So it's got, I mean, there's a little bit of places where you can put stuff over here.
You can squeeze it.
You can squeeze it in there.
As long as it's short. It
needs to be, that's exactly. You have to have it short and concise. Where that's kind of what these things are supposed to be. So they give you some examples on, experiences that you can use in the builds. But they don't have to be anything like incredibly in depth. They're kind of just like, I guess, like short-term descriptions of like who you are as a person. So you can say like, I am like a swashbuckler.
Yeah.
Right. Or swashbuckling, or, like I worked on a fishing boat.
Sure.
Right. And I can say, I worked on a fishing boat +2. That's my experience. And then as the game master, you present us with a situation, and then I'm like, hey, doesn't my experience working on a fishing boat benefit me in this situation?
Mm-hmm.
And you'd be all like, well, explain how. And I'd be all like, well, okay, I worked long hours, working, in the middle of a storm. So I'm used to doing this kind of stuff. This isn't going to bother me. This weather isn't going to affect me. Yeah. Right. Do I get a +2? And you're like, yeah, you do.
Yeah. And choosing a +1 or what gets the +1, what gets the +2.
Yeah, exactly. And I love this because it's not forcing you into choosing a proficiency in one specific skill.
Yeah.
It's a broad stroke that can, be applied to many unique situations depending on how you interpret that. Because look at the fishing boat example. You could apply all kinds of stuff depending on the situation. If it's the, what if it's knowledge about specific fish? And like, well, I worked on a fishing boat. I've seen a lot of fish.
Well, I mean, if where continents are or islands.
Oh yeah, where islands
routes.
are. Yeah, what if I'm trying to get information at a port city?
Do you know where to stay?
And like I walk up and they're all like, well, what do you want? And I'm like, well, I worked on a fishing boat. I know how to talk to these guys, right? Yeah. Do I get a +2 to talk to them to get more information? There's so many different ways that this experience thing can benefit storytelling in a very organic way, instead of just saying I have proficiency with a gambling set.
Ashley from Critical Role had a good one. She was playing a ribbit, and she's like, "Oh, I've got sticky fingers."
Yeah, sticky fingers.
I've got sticky fingers.
That's
it. The quote is sticky fingers.
Sticky fingers. Yeah.
How does? Oh, what if I'm trying to climb this thing? Would my sticky fingers help that?
Fingers?
Oh, what if I'm trying to intimidate this person? I come up and I shake their hand. That's gross.
That's gross. I'm intimidated. I don't want to shake your hand. Yeah. That's gross.
That's just easy and it's fun. It's just sticky fingers.
Yeah. And that's why Generate Experience is one of my favorites. And the other really cool thing before we leave Generate Experience is this is level 1, right? You're choosing 2 experiences, right? This is where it gets really cool, is when you level up. You choose new experiences, right? So when I go to level 2, I'm going to generate a new experience and give it a signed bonus, a + on it. The cool thing to me now is an experience that happened in my journey from level 1 to level 2. That's where I'm going to come up with this experience. I'm going to reference something that happened in that story. and that's going to be my new experience.
Yeah.
Right. And that right there is wild to me. And
It's almost like a mini diary.
Yes.
Of your character's adventures.
I'm so hyped for that. I love that. I love everything about the generate experiences. That's my favorite thing, like here, I think. Love it.
Just the idea that you took hit after hit after hit after hit over the course of level 1 to 2, and now you're sturdy.
Yeah. You're sturdy.
And you're
now.
like,
yeah.
Well, okay, what's that going to get me? Well, it means you're going to be hard to,
yeah.
Hard
Depends
to get
on the
through.
situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really, really cool. 13, we have name and pronouns. So it's pretty straightforward. Your name, your pronouns, you put those down on the sheet.
Yep.
All set. And then finally, we have create connections, which is one of our favorite new things to add into Dungeons and Dragons, which I am so happy to see that Spencer brought this to Daggerheart, because when we played it, we've referenced this countless times
also
when we talk about Alice is Missing and how that was such a groundbreaking thing that made so much sense to plug into other games.
Yeah.
And helped building characters so much. And now to see it here in this format in a way that we've been shoehorning it into Dungeons and Dragons is amazing. I love it. It's it's just really nice to see it. And it's
we would have added it anyway.
Yeah, we would have added it anyway because it's kind of just become a staple of role playing for us because it's such a unique thing. And what it is it's you're asking connection questions to the other players.
Yep.
So this could be something as simple as in, what was your first impression of me the first time we met?
Yeah.
Or you saved my life. Right.
And you don't give them time. like you're not talking about this before you sit down for character creation. This is one of those things where, as an example, pre-listed on the Bard, I sit down, I'm making my character, we go into the connections, and I look over at Richard and I say, hey, what do I do that annoys you? Character to character. And he's got to give me an answer.
Which is great.
Yeah.
And I love the fact
that
it
establishes this.
And I would love it doing it live like that too, because it makes me think of something and it's going to be genuine.
Right.
And it's going to be something completely that he's probably not going to,
that's the thing.
Expect.
I
didn't expect the question and he's not going to expect the answer.
Right. And it's a double-sided blade on me because it's going to establish that the fact that I chew with my mouth open bothers him, right? It's something my character does. But now it establishes that my character chews with my mouth open.
Yes, yeah.
And I'm just like, well, time to roll with it.
Yeah, and that's something that we bank on and that we roll with. And then something like one of my questions, so one of my, suggested one here is a lot more simple, which is what animal do I tell you that you remind me of?
Oh, interesting.
Right, which is just a very surface level question, but could have greater implications, right? Because if I say you remind me of a rat,
or how my personality or aesthetics, or
or a bear, like a protector, a beefy person, or a rat, sly or sneaky, or something like that,
skunk.
Or
I smell bad.
A skunk, you remind me of a trash panda,
yeah,
right? So it's something that it sounds simple on the surface, but could have greater implications of how people view you, and can kind of get you an idea of where brain space is at.
Yep.
So creating connections is awesome, and I'm so glad to see it has a major feature here as the final step in character creation.
My last one here is why did you grab my hand at night?
Yeah.
It could be to pull me apart or away from danger, or it could be a love interest, or it could be all these things.
You were snoring so loud that I had to wake you up.
it's you just let it roll.
Yeah.
You just come and you're establishing these things already here at level 1 that are gonna grow as your characters get to know each other more and more.
No, it's just another way. And that's why I say that 11 through 14 is my favorite part of the character creation. Because now we're past the meat and potatoes of the stat builds and everything like that. And now we're into the actual, the part that I super enjoy, which is building the background of these characters and the connection that you have to the other people at the table. So those are my favorite parts of character creation. Once you've done that, you are now ready to play Daggerheart.
You did it. You made a character. You're ready to go.
It only took you 2 episodes.
It took you 2 episodes, but I think you could probably knock it out. I think once you've done it.
So here's the thing.
Following one of these, you could get this together in 10 minutes.
Yeah, if you watch the videos that they released the day of beta release, Matt and Travis sit down and they make a character. They make Bertrand Bell.
Yeah.
Right. And
just
I think that
remake.
I think that video is 16 minutes long. Somewhere around that neighborhood.
It was like half an hour.
Was it? So
yes, I believe so.
It's pretty quick, right? It's not, it
and
doesn't
that's
take
being
you a
walked
long
through
time. And that's being walked
yeah.
through this stuff like we did here.
Right.
If you really kind of know what to expect on this, you could sit down and make a character just using some of this stuff relatively quick.
We'll have to do that for one of these episodes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We'll just sit down and both of us will just generate a character.
So even just reading through this, I've already made so many of my 5e characters in this. Yeah, just because I wanted to see how easily it would be to put them in here.
So I'd be a liar if I didn't say I considered earlier, while reading through some more material, of switching our Strahd game entirely to Daggerheart.
Into Daggerheart?
I absolutely considered it, but instead what I settled on, and I haven't talked to you about this at all, instead what I settled on is finishing Strahd, because it's just this big 5e, like everyone loves Curse of Strahd. Yeah. We've never actually like ran all the way through and stuff like that. So we're going to finish that off as 5th edition. And then the next campaign I run, I'm going to do in Daggerheart.
I'm hyped for it.
I have already thought it through.
New original characters. I'm not going to remake any other characters, but I'll tell you, Victor with the tower shield and the full plate.
So funny.
Oh, he would have been amazing
earlier
in Daggerheart.
Earlier at work, the first character I was making was Victor.
He would have been so good in Daggerheart.
I thought this entirely through. I was like, there must be a Victor in every universe.
Yep, Victor exists in this universe. Yep, yeah.
He's already in Monster of the Week.
Yeah, yeah.
There's always a Victor.
He exists in every universe. I will make him everywhere. Yeah, he was the first character that I made in Daggerheart. So
I'm so excited.
But yeah, this has been character creation of Daggerheart.
Yeah.
But if you're listening to this right now and you haven't done so yet, go download all these materials.
Yeah, they're available and free.
Yeah, they're all available.
Just get in there.
Go watch the video. There's a one shot that goes along with this, and the crew has made awesome characters.
Oh yeah.
It's hilarious. So go watch that. But
Critical
most
Role.
importantly, please play this game. Right.
Oh yeah.
And so this is
surveys.
Yeah, this is the beta. So get in this, play this game, and do the surveys, go through the materials, read all the stuff. Even if you're, just downloading it now, just go through and read everything first. And if you can find a group, play this stuff. But yeah, do the surveys. We need input on this. We need input. They need input on this.
Both. Let us know what you think too. We're going to be covering a lot more of this, I believe, probably over the next
I am super hyped for this game.
If you're interested in Daggerheart, definitely subscribe here. Follow on podcasting services or YouTube or wherever you enjoy this content, whether video or audio only, because we're going to be jumping into Daggerheart news and thoughts for at least the next couple of episodes, I think.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to avoid because
we'll end up back here too throughout it. So it's gonna be this is gonna be an interesting year, right? Because it's the 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, we got a lot to talk about there.
Anytime D&D news comes up, we gotta hit that. But Daggerheart, man, between this playtest and the fact that it's gonna be coming out, within the next year, it's going to be top of our list as well. So
it's just so interesting. Yeah, it's going to have to share the spotlight a little bit, just because of the fact that I was excited about Daggerheart.
Yes,
moderately so. Very interested.
Interested.
I was very interested.
Yeah,
I was interested in Daggerheart. I wanted to see what it was all about.
Yeah.
Wasn't sure what it was going to be. Kind of hesitant. We're all used to 5e and everything like that. So I was, I had a passing interest in Daggerheart, and then we got a hold of these materials and I read it, and now I am on a hype train. I am on the train.
Yeah. Yeah.
First class. So I want to talk about it. But that doesn't mean we're not going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that sums it up.
Yeah. So yeah, any final thoughts?
I want to make a character right now, and I want to start playing right now. I thought about asking you what you were doing this weekend to see if you wanted to play a game. And then I pulled up the PDF and saw there was 377 pages of
We got some reading to do first.
Of the main bit of book.
We've got some reading. And then we got to figure out, who's going to DM the game or GM the game. It's going to be you. It's going to be
Unless you want to.
It's going to be
I would say
I will concede the GM role to you.
This isn't a forever GM moment where I'm stuck as GM. I actually want to GM this game.
Yeah.
But if you also want to GM this game, let's do some 2d12 rollies. And we'll really
I was going to say, if we're doing rollies, it's not D20,
no,
it's D12.
D12.
Yeah.
It's the new die of the year.
Yeah.
But for now, I've been Tyler.
And I've been Richard.
And we've been True Strike.
Bye.
Hey, adventurers. Thanks again for joining us today. Please be sure to give us a follow on your favorite podcasting platforms and YouTube. If there's any questions you'd like to write into the show, you can hit us up on X, Threads, or Instagram. New episodes released every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for listening to True Strike.